She ordered the lobster, the wine, and the creme. Broly laughed at my jokes, touched my hand, and then walked right past me like I didn't exist. Outside the restaurant, she kissed him. It's full on the lips. It's like I was never even there. My name's Kyle. I'm 32, live in Chicago, and I work in IT. Nothing flashy. I'm the guy you call when your VPN crashes or when you can't figure out why your printer keeps printing sideways. It's boring stuff to most people, but I've always liked solving problems. Systems make sense. People, it's not so much. I met Lena 2.5 years ago at a trivia night downtown. She was sitting at the bar, sipping a gin and tonic, correcting the host's pronunciation of Greek mythology terms. She was smart, loud smart, confidence, mart, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made you check your shirt for wrinkles. I bought her a drink. She corrected my pronunciation of Campari. I laughed. She didn't. We ended up talking for 2 hours straight. Music, childhood trauma, weird cereal preferences, Fruit Loops for her, Frosted Flakes for me. We started seeing each other almost immediately. First, it felt like a rom-com. She'd send me Spotify playlists with titles like Songs I Want to Kiss You To. We'd order late-night tacos and binge-watch shows we'd pretend to hate. I still remember when she cried during the Good Place finale and tried to cover it up by blaming allergies. Didn't call her out on it. I just handed her a tissue. Eventually, Lena moved in. My one-bedroom apartment turned into ours. Her plants took over the windowsill. Her shampoo took over the bathroom. We split the bills. I paid rent. She covered groceries. She said it made her feel equal. I didn't mind. I liked providing. Every Sunday, we did brunch at this spot called Ellie's. She'd get the veggie omelet. I'd get pancakes. She always stole my strawberries. I pretended not to notice. It became our ritual photos of pancakes, her hand in mine, filtered into warm tones, and posted with captions like, "Sundays are for love." But then, slowly, things shifted. The first sign was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the awkward kind. The kind where you're sitting on the couch and realize the person beside you isn't really there. Her phone buzzed more often. She started smiling at texts she didn't show me. When I asked, she'd say it was her coworker, Drew. He was hilarious, apparently. Then she stopped sending me playlists. Our Sunday brunches became hit or miss. Sometimes she'd cancel last minute, said she was tired or needed to work. But the one that really got me, she started locking her phone. It had always been open. We shared playlists, grocery lists, calendar events. Now, suddenly, she needed privacy? When I asked, she got defensive. Told me I was being controlling. That word hit me like a slap. Controlling. I hadn't even asked for her password. I just noticed that she laughed less when we were together and smiled more when she was texting someone else. The real gut punch came one night. When I was scrolling through photos on our old shared Google Drive to make a memory collage for our anniversary, there hadn't been a new upload in 2 months. The last photo was one I had taken her in the kitchen, half laughing, holding a wine glass. I'd captioned it, "Home." But looking at it now, I saw it differently. The way she wasn't looking at me, but off to the side. It's like she was already somewhere else. That's when my stomach dropped. That was the first time I really admitted it to myself something was wrong. After that night with the Google Drive photos, I started noticing things I'd previously written off. Little things like how Lena suddenly had new clothes. She never mentioned buying Ajir stuff. Leather jackets. Thigh-high boots. Not her style, at least, not the version of her I knew. When I'd ask where she got them, she'd shrug and say, "I've always had this," or "It was on sale." I knew her closet like I knew my own Spotify queue. She was lying. She also stopped cuddling. Lena had always been a physical person back. Scratches, morning kisses, hand-holding while watching Netflix. Now, she'd sit on the far end of the couch, knees pulled up, phone glued to her hand, always with that same expression, eyes locked in, tiny smirk on her lips, like the rest of the world faded away, like I faded away. I asked her directly one night, "Is there someone else?" She looked up from her phone, face blank. "Why would you?" You say that? I don't know. Just a feeling. She scoffed. Kyle, you're being paranoid. That word again. Paranoid. She said it with such ease, like it was a script. And maybe it was. Maybe she'd rehearsed it in her head 100 times, ready to dismiss me like a jealous sitcom husband. From there, it got worse. She started working. Late more often, always on Thursdays. Said she had team meetings that ran late or post-shift drinks with the crew. I wanted to believe her, but my gut didn't. I don't want Thursday night. I called her office line around 8:45 p.m. It rang once and went to voicemail. Checked her location through the Find My app, something we both had access to in case of emergencies. It was turned off. She never did that ever. The next day, I brought it up calmly. You turned off your location last night. She blinked. Seriously? You're tracking me now? No, I was just worried. You didn't answer your phone. I was in a loud bar with coworkers. Can I breathe? She spun it on me, called me obsessive, said she needed space, and I started to believe maybe I was the problem. That's how gaslighting works. It wears you down in tiny doses until your instincts feel like neuroses. But the worst part? I still loved her. I still made her coffee in the morning, still rubbed her shoulders after work, still paid the rent, even as she distanced herself from me mentally, emotionally, even physically. I was clinging to the hope that this was just a phase. Then came the messages. One night, Lena fell asleep on the couch. Her phone buzzed. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I did. A message preview from someone saved as D, still thinking about your lips. Last night was insane. Blood ran cold. I opened it. The message thread was shallow sheed, deleted most of the conversation. But not that one. I didn't wake her. I didn't scream or shake her or ask questions. I just stared at her sleeping face. Peaceful, soft, innocent hand. Felt the kind of betrayal that doesn't come with fire but ice. I closed the phone, tucked it under a pillow, and sat there until morning. When she woke up, I pretended everything was normal. She kissed my cheek, told me she had to head in early. I nodded. She had no idea I'd seen it. I started watching more closely. When she showered, I'd scan her texts. She'd changed some contact names, deleted threads obsessively, switched her phone password every couple days, but I always found a way. I stopped being her boyfriend and started being a detective. Then, one night she asked if we could go out to dinner, said she missed us and wanted to reconnect. I agreed. We went to this nice place, expensive candlelight, white tablecloths, paid for everything like always. She was charming, laughing again, even reached across the table to hold my hand, and for a second, I believed her. For a second, I let myself fall for the version of her I used to know. But then, it happened. We stepped out of the restaurant. I was paying the valet. She said she was going to wait by the corner for some fresh air. I looked up after signing the receipt, and there she was, wrapped in someone else's arms, kissing him in full view of the restaurant lights. I stood there, holding my car keys, heart in my throat, stomach hollow. She didn't even look back. I didn't say anything. Not right away. I just stood there, frozen, while Lena kissed another man 10 feet from where I was paying for the night she'd spent pretending. I was enough. The valet held out the keys. I took them, hands shaking, drove home alone. She didn't come back that night. I didn't call her, didn't text, didn't even cry. Instead, poured myself a whiskey neat and sat in the dark phone on the table in front of me, staring at it like it might confess for her. She didn't come back the next night either. On the third day, she finally walked through the door. No apology, no explanation. It's just a breezy hey, like she hadn't torn my world in half. I asked her calmly, "Who is he?" She blinked like I'd asked her something absurd. "Who? You know who?" She stared for a second, then shrugged. "Just a friend." "A friend?" I almost laughed. "You kissed your friend on the mouth in front of the restaurant?" That caught her off guard. Her eyes narrowed. "Were you following me?" "No," I said. I paid for that night, remember? I watched it all happen. Her mouth opened, closed. She didn't have a comeback. I told her to sit down, and then I showed her what I'd been collecting: the screenshots, the call logs, the deleted messages recovered through Cloud Sync. I'd even managed to mirror her phone notifications to an old iPad she'd forgotten was still signed in. She stared at everything, her face cycling through a slideshow of denial, embarrassment, anger. Finally, something that almost looked like regret. She started to speak. I stopped her. "I don't need a speech," I said. "I just need you gone." She stormed out, throwing insults over her shoulder like grenades, controlling. Paranoid, creepy, but it didn't land. It's not anymore. I had already hit rock bottom. There was nothing she could say that would make me sink further. But here's the twist. I didn't delete the screenshots. I saved them to a Google Drive folder titled Insurance. Oh. A week later, I got an invitation to her friend Mandy's birthday party. Mandy had always liked me, and I figured Lena hadn't told her the full story yet, so I went. I walked in wearing my best suit, with confidence I didn't recognize in myself. Lena was already there. So was he, the guy from the restaurant. She looked stunned when she saw me. I smiled. Mandy greeted me with a hug and dragged me into a circle of people. Eventually, the conversation shifted toward relationships, and someone asked me why Lena, and I had broken up. I looked at her. She looked panicked. I said, "Well, it's a bit of a story, but I actually have it saved," right there in front of her closest friends. I airdropped the folder, screenshots, dates, messages, the picture of her kissing him outside the restaurant caught by a passerby's Instagram story, where she didn't realize she was in the background. Lena's face turned ghost white. She tried to defend herself, to spin it, but the damage was done. One of her friends stood up and said, "You told us he was abusive." Another said, "You said he was broke and insecure." I didn't say anything. I just left. Let her words choke her in a room full of people who finally knew the truth. That was the last time I saw her in person. But the poetic justice. A month later, I got a message from her new guy. Just one line. She did it to me too. After the birthday party ambush, Lena's world cracked just like mine, but with one key difference. I had already rebuilt. She tried to spin the narrative afterward. Of course, told mutual friends I was a hacker, that I invaded her privacy and made her look bad on purpose. But screenshots don't lie. Once people saw the timeline, saw the receipts, the late night just thinking about your lips messages while we were still living together, her credibility crumbled. I moved out of our apartment 2 weeks later. I didn't even take everything's just what I needed. Couple of duffel bags, my laptop. The dog chose me. His name was Buster R., 3-year-old Corgi Mixand. Even he started growling at her when she'd come around toward the end. I left her the furniture, coffee machine, the framed vacation photos. Let her sit with the ghosts she created. At first she didn't reach out, radio silence. But about a month later, I got a message. "Lena, can we talk? I didn't handle things well. You were a good man. I miss you." Respond. Not because I wanted to play some power game, but because I genuinely didn't know what I'd even say anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. I went to therapy, twice a week at first. Learned that being the provider doesn't mean you deserve loyalty. That people cheat for their own broken reasons, and most of the time, it's not even about you. Still hurt like hell, though. I also started writing again. I hadn't picked up my journal in years, but something about putting pen to paper writing. Out the betrayal, the silence, the confusion helped make sense of it. Helped release it. Lena tried again a few months later, sent a long email. Said she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. That the guy she kissed ghosted her a week after the fallout. That she was in therapy now, trying to figure out why she sabotaged something so good. Again, I didn't respond. But I didn't delete it either, not out of hope. Just as a reminder, around that time, I ran into someone I hadn't expected to see again, Derek, one of Lena's old coworkers. He recognized me at a bookstore and walked over awkwardly. "I just want to say, always thought something was off. The way she talked about you at work didn't match the way she acted when you weren't around." He said she used to complain. That I was too perfect, that I loved her too much. Like affection was suffocating. She wanted chaos, he said. It gave her stability. I nodded. It didn't sting anymore. It actually helped you spend so long asking yourself why you weren't enough, why they looked elsewhere, why they burned everything down. And sometimes the answer has nothing to do with you. Some people crave matches, not fireplaces. I heard from mutuals that Lena lost a few close friends after the party reveal, that her little curated circle slowly turned cold. She changed jobs not long after, tried to start fresh. Good for her, I guess. As for me, I focused on healing. I got a new place, a 1-bedroom, downtown, nothing fancy, but it's mine. I painted the walls the exact shade of blue I wanted. I bought a bookshelf and actually used it. I started cooking again, started smiling again, and Buster. It's been my little ride or die through all of it. We go on walks every morning. We don't. Look back. It's been just over a year now, 12 months since I stood outside that restaurant. Watching the woman I thought I'd marry kiss someone else without a single glance back, and I'm not going to lie and say I've moved on completely. Healing isn't linear. It's not a checklist. Some days I still wake up expecting to smell her shampoo or find her slippers by the door. Grief plays tricks like that. Tit echoes in the quiet, even after the door's been closed. But I'm not the same guy who stood there, stunned, holding a valet ticket and a heart full of questions. Back. Then I was so desperate to be enough for someone who had already made up her mind. So willing to excuse red flags because I thought love meant staying, fixing, proving. Now I know better. Love isn't something you should have to beg to receive. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's not a job. It's a connection, a choice, and it should be mutual every single day. I'm still learning how to trust again, not just others but myself, my gut, my boundaries, my worth, and yeah. Sometimes I still catch myself playing detective in new relationships, checking patterns, watching for signs, but I stopped. I breathe. I remind myself that the right person won't make me question my sanity. I think the hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the version of me who believed love was enough to keep someone loyal. But in that loss, I found something else, something stronger, clarity. I'm not perfect, not fully healed, but I'm here, standing, growing. And if Lena ever wonders how I feel about it all now, here's what I'd say. You got the wine, you got the creme brulee, you even got the last word that night. But I got something you'll never have. Peace. And it tastes better than anything on that menu. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories like this.